thinking. And we're live.
No.
I'll just quickly share it into the group.
That's good. So glad you're doing the tech part of the live.
I'm
Nicholas
trying
put up the
Facebook.
text.
There we go. Right. Share. Now I've got to find it. Right. And that's it shared into the group. So welcome. We have Melissa on from Paws and Ernest to talk about everything enrichment, and the most important topic is enrichment safety, which you're focusing on this week on Instagram.
Yeah. I think it's something that so many people talk about the benefits of enrichment, company and brand, but no one seems to be talking about enrichment safety. And I think it's something that's so important. I think especially among like the raw feeding community, there's such a talk on the safety side of things, but we don't have that on the enrichment community on that.
Yeah.
We're just trying to change that curve a little bit with educating people on how to use enrichment safely, both for the human and the dog as well. So
yeah,
it's
brilliant.
Week of content, which is
Very exciting. It's good.
definitely. And yeah, so we've been sharing content all week, all about enrichment safety. We came up with a checklist as well, which kind of helps with that side of things, because I think it's hard to know what to look out for. It's one of those things where if you don't know what you're looking for, then it's really hard. And I think a lot of people assume, I know I did, if it's in the shop it's safe.
Yeah.
But we know the broad range of dog food that's on the market. We know with the fact that there's still rawhide sold in shops, that's not fact. There is so many products out there, isn't there, that people just don't know that they're not safe. And exactly the same applies with enrichment, unfortunately. And I think one of the biggest things we've found recently is people not wanting the mess of making enrichment.
Oh, really?
Which I completely understand. Don't get me wrong. My product originally designed to stop that mess of happening, but I think people are trying to take shortcuts, and that's where the problem happens. The main one being when there's a lot of products out there at the moment without the two holes. The suction on the faces, and the issue is it's such a new phenomenon within the enrichment world. There's no studies out there yet to show that these things are happening. Kind of all we've been able to go off is the articles that we found, which actually surprisingly there was quite a few of dogs getting toys with single hole, some of them even resulting in death, which is quite scary. And then I also kind of dug a little bit further and went into the children's safety side of things, because children's toys are really heavily regulated, but dog toys aren't, but they use them in a very similar way. Now, I'm not comparing children to dogs because I'm not sure. But the way children, the first thing they do when they grab a toy is they pick them up and put them in the, and we're encouraging our dogs to do that with those toys. And within regulations, it says that it's 10.2 centimeters. If the opening is any smaller to that, there has to be a second hole to stop suction. So actually that covers 90% of the toys out there that don't have that second hole. And then you added figure that actually children's mouths are a lot smaller than dogs, so that 10.2 I would say within the dog industry should be even bigger than that. So that was quite a worrying statistic that I actually found, and there was a lot of studies why that number is so precise as well, because that is where it becomes extremely dangerous to not have that control. So yeah, that's kind of where we went down the rabbit hole, and then we got even further down, which is things like keeping your toys clean, which is obviously so important. It's really easy, I think, to look at I don't know, people seem to have a different mindset around things like a lick mat towards dog. And I've seen a lot of like, oh, it's my dog's bowl, I need to wash it every day, and make sure that it's kept clean. There isn't always that with enrichment toys. A lot of people I've like, it looks clean, yeah, that's fine. Especially people that kind of use dried treats on it and those kind of things, like the snuffle mats. But actually, we know from kind of food studies that a lot of bacteria builds up very, very quickly. It's really important to kind of clean your toys really regularly, because otherwise bacteria will build.
Yeah, that's interesting. Especially with like dried treats, because I know I'm guilty for that.
I think we all are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Guilty of
because we've all done it one time or another. It's just kind of, you think, oh, there's not wet food today, so it's fine, and you just put it out and you forget. So, but to raise awareness more, just doing it a bit more often.
Yeah, I think
it could stop some of these, like this dog stomach bugs that go around. It could stop this happening more often, because I mean, at the minute it just seems to be raging again around my area of dog stomach bugs.
Yeah, and a lot of people feed their enrichment outdoors.
So
they feed outdoors, they think there's still food within that toy, and their dog goes back to it 10 minutes later. Yeah. But how many flies have landed on and laid eggs in that time? Because there's food in there. Even with dry food, how many flies have landed on that because it's got food in there and kind of laid their eggs there, and obviously harbouring infections, bacteria, all of those things. So, I mean, I'm really guilty for it. I'm rubbish at cleaning up my enrichment toys, being completely open and honest. I'm one of those people, I'm very open and honest. But I tend to try and like save them up all in one go. I do all in one go because for me, I find that easier rather than kind of ad hoc doing them. I mean, all the enrichment toys, I believe, that we sell are dishwasher safe, which obviously is like really handy to be able to put them in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
We go as far to say dishwashers don't get them 100% clean.
Yeah.
Kind of the enrichment cleaning brushes, because they're really handy because they keep it a lot cleaner, especially with products like the Kong, where it's like all the way in there.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm one of those people, I kind of get my torch, look inside it, and I'm like, and you just don't realise, you just don't think about it because you don't.
Well, I'll be 2 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, you just don't look at it, and then all of a sudden you're feeding your dog out of it without kind of knowing or seeing that bacteria as well. So yeah, I find that one of the biggest things that I feel like I've seen so many videos in the last week actually around cleaning the dog's water bowl and food bowl. So out there, I just think it's something that a lot of people don't even think about.
Yeah.
Bowl, like, oh, it's still full, that's fine. And yeah, I think there's so many grounds for bacteria at the moment.
Yeah.
Especially,
definitely.
I mean, just gets it warm so quickly.
I know.
And we had on the checklist. So the other one was choosing the right toy for your dog.
Yes.
Or that you've got. It's not just the right size. I think that's really important, but it's also knowing that your dog's style will change over time. So a puppy will need different toys to what a grown-up dog will need. And also, even in the last year, Marty's who's my dog, his way of using enrichment toys has actually massively changed.
Oh, really?
And gone from kind of being relatively gentle with them to being quite a heavy chewer.
Oh, okay.
And just having to kind of I'm going back to basics with training with him in terms of trying to get him a bit more gentle with his food. And I think it's because I built up his level to a point, difficulty level, and he really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But he found a way to make it quicker.
Okay.
So down on the level for him again. And kind of trying to mix it up as well, because I think it's really easy to use the same enrichment toy again and again and again.
Yeah.
And at what point does it then just become your dog's bowl? Because they're so it. At what point does it become kind of the same toy? So I think, every dog, like, they're all different breeds. They all have very different characteristics.
Yeah.
Every dog has different things they enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Marty sniffing. I don't know about yours, like, but Marty.
Yeah, mine enjoy sniffing. Like, I was just thinking, I know watching like Arlo and Rufus, if I give them, like, you know, the type of toy that you fill with treats and then they've got to roll it around.
Like these
Rufus. Yeah, kind of like that. But I've got you know how, well, you can get them at Pets at Home, like the actual like balls, and then you've got the little bit that you kind of open and close. I've got one like that, and then another one that's, it's kind of like rubbery. I can't remember what they're called, but it's like rubbery, and then it's got a bit that kind of pulls out so you can fill it, and then you push it in. I can't remember what it's called.
Will be something like that. It's see-through, almost transparent.
Yeah. So like Arlo loves those types of toys, but Rufus easily gets frustrated because there'll be like, you know, a couple and it'll get stuck and he gets frustrated with it, and you can tell. So like then I've got to help him out because I don't want him to like get so frustrated that he's not enjoying it, type of thing. And what you were saying about, like, you know, different dogs and different things, 100%, because not every dog is gonna enjoy the same style of enrichment. And like I said, Rufus can get easily frustrated with things. Arlo, with some certain toys, he's not as confident as what Rufus is.
Yeah.
And you've got to tailor what toy you're giving to your dog so that they're then not gonna not want to actually, you know, interact and do it, because it's meant to be enjoyable for them, and that's the whole point.
Yeah, like that.
I'm looking with Minnie.
Sorry, go on.
I'm looking with Minnie. She likes anything, so like any enrichment toy she works at. Meadow, on the other hand, if she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
she's stubborn.
A common mistake as well in finding what a dog likes and making it harder and harder and harder and harder, to the point where they get so frustrated with it. Enrichment, I hear so many people say, how long does it last your dog? That's bragging. It lasted them 45 minutes, it lasted them an hour, but actually quite a lot of the time that's when frustration comes in. Whereas, like, so if I make enrichment toys for Marty and they last him, and there are some that I can do that do last him that long period of time, he gets frustrated and then he starts chewing it and then he starts destroying the toy, which then damaging. Whereas I prefer doing little and often. So we'll have a couple of enrichment toys during the day, and they are easy levels of kind of 10 or 15-minute activities, because they're like angry at them and that side of things. And I see so many people and they're like, oh, my dog doesn't like enrichment because they get frustrated with it or it's too hard for them. I'm like, have you tried like a toothpaste, like a pea-sized amount of food on a lick mat? And the lick mat. And how do they interact with that? And I think it's really important to know your dog. I don't know about you guys, but one of the first things that we get asked as a company is, what would you recommend for my new puppy? And I'm like, well, I don't know your new puppy. So it's hard to recommend. And actually, I end up saying 3 activities first, which is ridiculous as a business. The amount of times that people have gone, you're not recommending any of your products though. And I'm like, I know, because I want your dog to enjoy enrichment first. Loads of money in paying for enrichment products, find what your dog likes, and there's to find those different things. Whether you have a box with paper in it and you're putting treats in it, that's then to see whether they enjoy snuffling. Or maybe you want to smear some kind of, I don't know, I hate peanut butter, but easier to say, peanut butter on the bottom of their bowl. Do they lick it? Do they enjoy licking that food bowl? You can then really start to figure out what they enjoy. And once you know what they enjoy, that's the point where you can start experimenting with treat mats. I do ever recommend a product is normally one with multiple surfaces. So doing one lick mat or the group. So I think I've got them here. I'm probably going to do bowl as well, actually. But this is the groovy mat. So you can really see that it's going to get them using different surfaces and different ways of using enrichment. So Sophie's dog, who works with me, she's not here today, but she tried this for the first time the other day. And what Sophie found was that Maple ate from all of these first and left this one till last.
Oh, really?
And struggled a little bit with this one because the difficulty level is higher. So it's really good to see what level your dog's at as well. And I think it's really common to just give your dog some enrichment and then walk away.
Yeah.
Whereas actually what you should be doing is really observing them.
Yeah.
Doing with it. Are they chewing it? Are they throwing about? Are they going to a certain section of the toy first?
Yeah.
Then you can really start to determine what your dog gets out of the toy as well.
100%.
It's like one of my most common ways to do enrichment is actually to feed Marty from enrichment feeder toys, but to do things like with the UFO licky mat, the slow feeder bowl that we've just got in, and Rilo. So that he's kind of eating his normal food and then getting the enrichment at the end. Yeah. But he's still slowed down with his normal food anyway as well. I think it's a really good way of not adding too many extra calories. I think people can overcomplicate enrichment. Yeah. And be like, I need to have so many different ingredients on my plate. And actually, that's not what's needed. You can quite feed your dog. You could quite easily never put extra calories or extra treats in your enrichment. You can solely do it with their food.
That's what I do. That's
how we started. Yeah. Every now and then we used enrichment with Marty from when we brought him home. And kind of just never really knew what it was. We were the average school, let's give the puppy blue, and kind of just played with it from there. And then so we used to fill it up with his food and then put a tiny bit of peanut butter on the top just to get him used to it and with it. And I think it's just really important, isn't it, to use their food, use what they're eating every day, and go from there, because otherwise you're just adding extra calories. And why can't mealtime be playtime as well at the same time?
Exactly, and it doesn't need to look glamorous or fancy or anything. Mine never do. Most of the time it's like a licky mat or a slow feeder bowl or something, and I just smoosh it down.
Kind of smushed in and done. There you go.
Yeah.
That's all I do half the time.
Definitely. See, I'm a mix of both. I think there's a lot to say about, for me, I'm quite an artistic and creative. So I find it really therapeutic doing kind of the more creative things, but that is purely for my benefit. Yeah. That's Marty's benefit also, that is purely for my benefit. But half my freezer right now will be filled with just a tiny bit of paste on a mat, and that's it. Like, just really simple, nothing glamorous. Because I think that's what's needed, really. I did a reel the other day, and it was how many enrichment toys can you prep in 60 seconds?
I've seen that.
Hard. That was really hard. You feel like it's a long time, but it's really not. But I think I'm doing about 5, and all of those were kind of just really simple foods on there. Yeah. Shows how quick that's a whole week's worth of enrichment that I prep.
Yeah.
That's good, like
set up and the pack down afterwards, but like which makes it a little bit more difficult. But, yeah, I think I'm quite passionate. Those that don't know me, my business actually started when it started from me getting frustrated with enrichment, and I think it's how a lot of people feel. And as I said, I started with Kongs, and I was filling them, and I have ME, which is a chronic condition, and it massively affects my energy levels, especially when Marty was a puppy. I was really, really struggling. I was housebound at that point. I mean, you girls have seen me in all my different conditions. You've seen me in a wheelchair, you've seen me with my walking stick, you've seen me now a lot better than I ever have been, which is great. But kind of where Paws and Ernest started was I was making up enrichment every day for Marty, and I was getting frustrated with how much time it then took to clean up the surfaces afterwards, because the food was coming out of the air hole.
Yeah.
But I got frustrated with it. So we ended up creating the Stopple, which is like a plug and stand that goes in the bottom of feeder toys that have those two holes.
Yeah.
So things like the Kong, but also there's quite a lot of other brands out there that do those. And that's kind of where we started and when we got into enrichment. It's only as we've kind of gone along that we've introduced other products. I think the chopping board is probably one of the most popular.
Is it?
Yeah,
I was going to do the engraving with it, don't you?
Yeah, so we do. I was saying to Nick that my chopping board, I've had it for probably about 2.5 years now, and it's been absolutely perfect. And then last night I left a strawberry on it for too long and changed my board. But we have the Instagram handles on it, but we also have like Paws off my raw board and those kind of things as well. But it just means it keeps the chopping board completely separate from human ingredients as well. Again, it's that hygiene thing of keeping it separate. Marty has his own knife that I use for chopping up vegetables like that to keep it really separate, and I go a bit extreme, but I think it's quite important to have separate things. And it's only been recently, I mean end of July that Rilo came out, and that's our first dog toy. But I've been on the hunt for the best enrichment toys, and that's basically what our website is, just hunting down what toys I recommend most. And genuinely, my enrichment collection is one of every single one of the website, because I buy everything before it goes on the website. I don't go on unless it's been tested by Mark. Because I'm really quite passionate about making sure I'm not recommending products I don't like. I think that's so important. A lot of brands do. They just chuck so many products up, and it's when you're recommending. When someone says to you, "Oh, the new slow feeder bowl, how does that work? How does the dog interact with it?" I'd just be making it up, and I don't.
No, it makes sense to like test it out and stuff beforehand, because you get ones like you say how brands just throw them out, different designs and stuff. But I've noticed with a few that I've got, like, it's got like the funky kind of designs on it, and there's a couple that I got at Christmas time, and it's got really tiny like little holes because it's meant to be like eyes on a Santa. But you kind of think if you're using liquid or anything, the dog's not going to get the liquid out of that tiny hole, and then it's a pain to properly clean it out. And it's like, in theory it looks really nice having this hole because it's meant to be the eyes, but practicality is it doesn't do anything. It's just there for aesthetic, and then it's a pain to make sure it's properly cleaned out.
And I think that's it, isn't it? That sometimes prettiness overcomes the practicality thing. And I think that's when enrichment gets quite frustrating, because I think a lot of people see the really pretty stuff and they're like, oh, I'll get that. And that's their first ever enrichment toy.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I can't clean it. I can't wash it. I mean, I probably shouldn't actually show this, but literally just here is Marty's week worth of enrichment on the draining board. And that is literally his toys that he's used this week.
Yeah.
And a lot of those on there would be seen as really hard to clean products.
Yeah.
Of soaking them, so I tend to run quite a hot sink of water, very like washing up liquid, and then I use the cleaning brushes that we have. Are these, which I tested so many different cleaning brushes, and none of them got on those tiny little holes that you get.
Yeah.
And it really annoyed me. And then these came out and I was like, yes, these are exactly what I've been. And they come in the little set of 2. And honestly, I still put a lot of my stuff in the dishwasher, but I give them a quick with these first.
Yeah.
The dishwasher, because this is just going to get, I mean, with things that have those little bumps on them,
yeah,
not put food out unless you're using something like this.
No.
There's the 2 in the set. This one has the little bristles on it, which get right into those mats, but also into your smaller toys. And then this one gets into things like your Kong and that side of it. And because it's got the twisty handle,
it's fab.
Literally gets in there.
So much easier. I love mine.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier. And like, I just think it's one of the most underrated products. Like,
it's so good.
Definitely. And yeah, I mean, I did have an argument with my Licky Mat Wobble Bowl earlier because I was trying to wash it up. I think similar to what you were saying, Nick, where it's this little ridge here.
Yeah.
And get into it. I was like, why aren't you coming out?
I know.
Like, washed it really well. These are the snuffle mats that we've got. It's still wet from where I washed it up, but yeah, it washes up really well. Those snuffle mats have been really popular actually, especially within the raw feeding community.
Yeah.
Dogs
I love mine.
A lot of the time they struggle with the fabric mats.
Yeah.
Whereas that silicone, you can put raw food on there and not have to worry. Which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. I've got like the fabricy ones, and I've never used like raw food for them. I saved that for like dry treats.
Yeah.
And then when you took out the silicone ones, I got one for the boys because I was like, well, that's fab for their meals.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I tend to also then spread stuff on the top of the leaves as well. And then it's like a big mat and a snuffle mat. Yeah. Yeah, I must admit, that's one of my favourites at the moment. That is the one that I keep coming back to. Yeah, I mean, what's Marty had in the last week? He's had a wobble bowl, which is very easy to fill. Literally, so easy to fill. Snuffle mat, silicone snuffle mat, which I said about. The 2-in-1 feeder bowl. He's had 2 of those this week. Lucky boy.
Yeah.
So similar to what I was saying about the groove mat earlier, where with dogs where you're just trying to find out what type of textures they like. This has got 2 textures. It's got the crosses. It's still soaking wet. And it's got the little dot side. So it gives you 2 surfaces.
Yeah.
So it's got a bit of a bowl in the centre, which means that it's easier for the food to kind of stay within.
Yeah.
He's then had a UFO.
I love the UFOs.
Between this and the Rilo, these are his traveling.
Okay.
They're the 2 things I take travelling.
Yeah.
I don't have to bring a water bowl. It can double up as his water bowl.
Yeah, good idea.
So I only have to bring one thing. And then the Rilo, I don't know how I did it, but the Rilo is the perfect portion size for Marty.
Oh wow.
It is literally, I don't have to bring the scales or a measure or anything like that. It is just still the alive, and I know that's his portion size, so
Yeah.
it makes it so much easier. So yeah, I take that.
That's handy.
And then I also use the little silicone cover caps on the Rilo.
Oh yeah.
The can-sized one, or the one up from the can-sized one, fits perfectly over the Rilo, and it means you take it out with you, and you keep the food frozen in it. So that's what I did when I went somewhere. Had the Rilo in the freezer with an ice cube, like ice pack, and a freezer bag, and literally put them in there with the cover on the top. And it travelled with us perfectly, which was really good. So
that's fab.
Yeah, but yeah, what's your guys' favourite enrichment? What do you tend to?
I don't know. I like them all. I think probably the most used one would be licky mats, just because if I want something quick, then that or the slow feeder bowls, like they don't take long to kind of put the food out onto them. But I really like, the like stuffable ones as well, because then that lasts them a tiny bit longer in comparison to like the licky bowls and that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's
the licky, like the lick mat products, I tend to say are more for like your treat based enrichment, and then the stuffables are more milk enrichment.
Yeah.
But I particularly like it when there's a product that kind of mixes both.
Yeah.
I find that makes me happy. Like the licky mat, where you can just put a whole meal in it and it can be done. And the new slow feeder bowl out as well, because that's got like the texture surface here, and then it's got the slow feeder part on it as well.
Yeah.
So when it kind of,
I need that.
Pardon?
I definitely need that one. I think it's because it's new as well. Everyone have it, so and every time I see something new, I want.
Yeah.
It's dangerous, isn't it? I literally launched them a couple of days ago, I think it was, and we're half sold out already.
Wow.
So
you better order quick, Keisha.
I a couple of months worth of stock, and obviously that's not been the case. Small business, knowing how much stock to buy and that side of things as well. But yeah, we're getting there.
Good.
Going through, I got distracted, didn't I, with my checklist?
We kind of tailed off, didn't we?
I feel like we always end up doing that when we end up chatting.
Always.
Start going off piste.
Yeah.
So then we have checking the enrichment toy for the second hole, which I kind of said about at the beginning. It's really important to have that second hole because it stops suffocation and suction. Really important. And then supervising playtime, especially in the early stages. I think we all do it. We all leave our dogs with their enrichment toys. It's something we are all guilty of. But I think it's really important to know how your dog interacts with that toy.
Yeah.
And some form of eyes on as well. So if I leave Marty with an enrichment toy, I tend to have the camera set up so that I can check back in and make sure that he is okay with it. And he will only be an enrichment toy if he has had it multiple times before, know how he interacts with that toy. And I will never change up how I feel that toy before I give him, if I'm going to be leaving him. Because I think there's been some toys where I'm really shocked at how Marty's interacted with it.
Yeah.
Marty is the slow feeder bowls. He cannot have a plastic slow feeder bowl because he chews it.
Oh, really?
He just bites it and he destroys them, and he literally chips off plastic off of them. And I'm like,
oh God.
Which is one of the reasons why we don't have those plastic slow feeder bowls on our website, because I made this pack that I will not sell something Marty doesn't like, which is because other dogs love it, but it's become that thing now. So yeah, as soon as I pick, I I gave him one of those slow feeder trays, and he just chewed it up. And I was like, really flimsy silicone mats, you don't chew them. I give you a solid plastic ball and you chew it. I don't get it.
Oh man.
I don't get it. Yes, there's been a few toys that I have been shocked at how he interacts with them. And
he's
then,
just keeping you on your toes.
Yeah. He does. Literally, I gave him a lick mat, and all of a sudden he was just gnawing his whole mouth against it. Like, I was like, never done that in your life before. Why now, all of a sudden, are you chewing your lick mats? I was like, so as I said at the beginning, I've had to go back to basics with him. To, the licking is what we want from you, not. And I think it's because I got quite complacent and I ended up doing a lot of frozen enrichment. So he found out that if he grates his teeth along frozen stuff, big chunks come off. Because so it kind of made sense when I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, actually, I've done a lot of frozen enrichment lately. I mean, it's boiling. Can you blame me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I find for me as well, I find prep is key. If I'm enrichment toys, I'm more likely to give him enrichment. Whereas if I'm giving him stuff that's just fresh and not in the freezer, I forget to do it, or he'll be barking at me, them like, "Give me it now!" And then and then it's just a catastrophe. I mean, content for our social media is an absolute pain because he's just, if we had the sound on some of our content, he is screaming at the top.
Oh God.
Food. You'd think we'd starve him. But we starve. And we don't. It's just
he wants his toys.
Yeah, definitely. And then on that note of damaging, the next thing on our checklist is to inspect toys regularly. I think that a lot of people forget, especially if you're using the dishwasher to clean your toys.
Yeah.
If you're not hand washing them up sometimes, then you can actually check them and not just give them a visual look over, give them a bit of a squeeze as well.
Yeah.
See that a lot of kind of teeth marks, and that's teeth marks are okay. Like, dog toys are rubber, you're gonna get teeth marks in them.
Yeah.
Dogs' teeth and jaws are incredibly strong, so you're gonna get teeth marks in them. It's when chunks come out or you're starting to see kind of rubber deterioration or anything like that. That's when you remove the toy or try and make it safe.
Yeah.
So, who was using silicone? The suction cups got stuck to everything. The silicone snuffle mat.
Yeah.
And they'd been using it for every single meal time for a very long time. And they were like, one of their dog had all of a sudden managed to chew off one of the petals.
Oh.
Now, they're only silicone petals, so if your dog takes their teeth to that and tries to chew it, like that's not how the toy is intended to be used.
Yeah.
And it's like, have you got any recommendations on what I can do with it? And I was like, well, the best thing to do is get a sharp pair of scissors and take the whole of that petal off. The mat is completely safe for you to continue using. So just because the toy is damaged doesn't instantly mean you have to throw the whole thing
away.
That's not what it's done. How can you reutilize it?
Yeah.
If it's a lick mat, for instance, so something like the soother, if it's something like this and they've bitten a corner off of it, well, actually, that's still usable.
Yeah.
Because that's not damaging. Whereas if they've bitten part of the corner off and this is flapping off and there's a chance they're going to pull the rest of that corner off and swallow it, that's a problem. But what I would actually do is then just cut that corner off. And so I think a lot of people are obviously, enrichment products aren't cheap.
No.
I think it's quite common knowledge that they're not cheap.
Yeah.
I do think, though, you can get a lot of use out of enrichment products. So I think over time, they do work be quite reasonable for the benefits that they give to your dog, but you don't want to give them away all the time when your dog tiny little bites off a tiny corner. Not what so I think it's finding that balance, isn't it?
100%.
And yeah, actually, things like cracks and those kind of things can cause damage. So if you've got a Kong, I mean, I don't have any, but to show as an example, but if you've got a Kong and you're squeezing it and there's a bit of a slit of like damage on it, you know how they get sometimes.
Yeah.
What can happen if your dog chews that Kong down, their tongue gets stuck in the slot, they release that pressure, and the tongue is then trapped within that. So actually, you might think that's okay to use still, but if there's that big slit in a toy where that can actually pressurize, then that can cause damage.
Yeah.
And the last thing we want as well is for a toy to cause fear to a dog.
Yeah.
If it hasn't harmed them, or it's just kind of got stuck to their like chops or whatever it might be, actually, if they're then scared of it, especially the anxious dogs that get a lot more out of enrichment or a huge benefit out of enrichment, that's when they're then scared of it.
Yeah.
So being really careful and keeping an eye on the enrichment toys, definitely. And then I think the last one is keeping toys clean, which is kind of what we said about it. We all wipe down our surfaces. We all clean up your utensils after you've used it, but making sure you're thoroughly cleaning those toys is really good. But also, the other side of things is the freezer can be really beneficial because it kills bacteria. So if you're prepping enrichment, popping it in the freezer is actually a really beneficial thing to do as well, because it's going to get rid of that bacteria, which then makes it a lot better for your dog as well. And that's the checklist that we did. And that can be downloaded. I still haven't been on the website yet. It's on my to-do list and it just hasn't happened. We all have this, right? We all have that thing of, I need to do that.
Yeah.
We have a massive to-do list and we're forever getting right around my Nick.
Yeah. It's always growing as well.
Jumping up at the window. I don't know if you can hear him.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere, and I don't know how. Hopefully he'll be quiet. If not, I have to come in and say hello. He knows that I'm using all of his enrichment toys. He's like, "What are you doing, Mum?"
He's like, "Come on, I need them. They're mine."
And that you want me to kind of demonstrate, I've got some raw food partially defrosted as well. So I thought I'd show you some of the products and how I would fill them. This is Marty.
Oh, look at him.
Hello. Are you hyper? Wow. Lovely pup.
He's like, I'm going to need some of that enrichment now.
Yeah.
Mama. So much. I think you've had 3 enrichment toys today because it's hot. Very hot.
Yeah. Oh, he's so cute.
And he had 2 at lunchtime, so just treat mats. But
yeah.
You are hot, aren't you, buddy?
Right. Bless him.
He's quite happy there now. He's like, right, I've got me mum. I'm okay.
Yeah. Like, what do you want? He sat just looking at me like.
He's like, I thought you were prepping some enrichment. Where is it?
I'm just gonna mute myself if I can, or I'm just gonna put him outside.
I shouldn't be able to mute you.
Yeah. Bless him. He wants the enrichment toys, that's why.
He does.
He's so used to them in the house.
Yeah.
Where Meadow's not in the mood for enrichment at the minute.
No.
I think with being clammy, she's just like, no, can't be bothered.
Yeah. They're so funny.
Spaniels. Your boys have been, especially Rufus, have been loving them at the minute.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
He slipped through Dog Dad's arms.
Oh no.
Past we've got like 3 doors closed between. Somehow he's managed to get through every single defence.
Oh God.
Bless him.
They always find a way, don't they?
They really do.
Always.
But yeah, and then Enrichment actually sent me some of their food as well, which I think you guys work quite closely with Enrichment, don't you?
Yeah, we've met up with them
Yeah.
a couple of times now, haven't we?
I was going to say, I think the last time was Crufts in March.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got a rebrand tomorrow, haven't they?
Yeah.
New branding and everything. So the stuff that they sent me has got the new brand.
How exciting.
Yeah.
So we get a sneak peek.
Yeah. So we've got the duck.
Lovely.
And then boneless beef as well. And then
Nice.
the freezer. Yeah, so I've partially defrosted it, and obviously when using it for enrichment, if you're refreezing, make sure it's only partially defrosted. Yeah, I think that's the main thing. And then I was going to do a couple of little enrichment maps and kind of show how I would do and use different things, and the different tools that I would use as well. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, please do pop them up as well. And if you guys have any questions, then let me know. But I'll kind of just talk through a couple of the different products and how I use them, because I think it's quite beneficial. The first one I'll do actually will be, I'll just show you some of the Kongs that I've used. That's probably quite handy. So this one, where's the camera? I'm really confused with this new setup. I'm not old. I really want to put it on like my neck. This one is filled with his food, and then I've got a tiny little bit of lickies on the top, which I normally do just to top the literally like the top millimeter. Like that is the excitement.
Yeah.
And then I tend to also try and, especially with the Kong, because he can get quite frustrated with the Kong, I try and give him quick wins. So this is literally pepper sliced up and put in the top so that he can munch those first, remove those, which in theory will then remove the top little plug bit that I've done. Yeah. And then by that point, this will have started falling, which then will mean that he gets frustrated. And the main thing that I use in the bottom is the stopple, which basically just means it can be filled with liquid. So bone broths, those kind of things can actually then be used in these toys. The only thing I'd say with using things like bone broths and fur boost in the Kong is it can be incredibly frustrating for them, because it freezes solid.
Yeah.
And a long time to get it out. So only do that if you've got an enrichment wizard of a dog. Yeah. I tend to actually use the Kong curves as a guide. So dry treats up to the first bit, and sometimes that will be dried chopped up vegetables. That might be kind of actual dried treats, but it's kind of dried products. Yeah. Then the wet, this bit, because that's then freezing. And sometimes a little bit higher, and then I have the little plug that I said about at the top, which is the really high reward. And that's how I tend to kind of do that. And the stopple works as a stand and a plug as well to stop that food from coming out. And what you literally do before giving it to your dog, really important step, don't give your dog the stopple. Yeah. Not what it's for. No. You give it and it pops out, and you've still got that air hole free, which is really important. And you've got the stopple as well. And don't forget to clean your stopple. I always forget. That is one thing that I forget. Cleaning the stopple. I give it a quick rinse under the tap, and then I'm like, oh, I should really properly clean it. But the new stopples, the stopple for stuffers, not the stopple for topple and are still made in-house, so they are hand wash only. The stopples, these ones, the hexagon ones, are, so you can pop them in the dishwasher, and the handy little hook, if you put it through one of the little prongs that you have in your dishwasher, it means it's not going to go into your filter. You hang handy. It place within the dishwasher, but also, shelves and that kind of thing in your house, which is very handy. And they're all hollowed out the back to reduce plastic as well, and they're also PET, so they are recyclable. So if your dog does chew it up, accidentally gets hold of it, it can go in the recycling bin, so it's nice and easy. Hopefully, single-use product for a very long time. People didn't want them to be kind of going in landfill forever and ever. So we ended up with that. And then the other thing that I find really helpful when filling a Kong type product is the funnel. I tend to use that on products, not just like the Rumble, which this is here, but Kong as well. And these that you can kind of smush your raw food, smush your food within the funnel, and that's then obviously going within the toy, but of a larger opening. Rather than it all going down the sides. So that's the funnel. Again, that's got the hook, but that is a hand wash product, the funnel. And that's Kong. That's kind of how I fill my Kong. And I tend to use the spatulas as well that we do. These are our bamboo spatulas. And I use these because I used to use a lot of our utensils, especially things like the spatulas, and I want to keep them separate. But these ones are also quite small compared to a lot of the ones that are on the market, so you can actually use them in your smaller toys as well. That's that one. And then you've got products like you said about Nick, which are the treat dispenser toys, which is kind of your dried foods in there, so your dried treats, that side of things. And they're these ones. Again, it's very easy to think they're dried treats and then not wash them up. So that makes it even easier. I tend to put all of my soft Enrich, all my so I tend to put those on the top shelf, the same as the ball, and then your lick mat I tend to put on the bottom shelf because that's where it gets the hottest, your dishwasher. That's going to burn off the bacteria in there as well. So you want to be using your bottom shelf for things like your lick mats, etc. Rack only. I think the mat products are top rack dishwasher safe only. I chuck them in the bottom and haven't had any issues, but I'm pretty sure they say not the UFO, but your kind of thin mats. I'm pretty sure they are top rack only. I can't read it.
I'm not too sure. I've got a very small dishwasher. It's like tabletop style, so it's only got one rack. So
this one actually says hand wash only.
My dishwasher's called Brandon.
The dishwasher. So yeah, shows how much I know. And what I was saying. So then we've got the new slow feeder bag. This. So what I'm probably going to do is fill this bit with the raw food, and then I would go in. I haven't got it for the live, but I would actually go in with my supplements afterwards. So all my wet foods, wet products, so like Fur Boost kind of thing, your oils, your thing, I would put in the side so that they've got kind of a bit of a different places. But this is great to have different textures. Or if you want to, which I've done quite a lot in the past, is just use this central section. So I think it's quite common with with a lot of enrichment toys to feel like you have to fill the whole toy.
Yeah.
Do you guys find that? Like,
Yeah.
I find
Yeah.
I want to fill the whole thing, and it's only been recently that I'm like, actually, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially with kind of like the Rilo as well. It's like, oh, I'm filling it all the way to the top, but actually, if you fill just the sections, then that's just as good, and there's still from it. Yeah, so I have partially defrosted the Enrichment. This is the boneless beef, and it's kind of like a minced one. So I'm literally just going to take parts of it with the spatula and just literally spread it within that lick mat centre. And obviously you can do the whole meal portion. So you could choose to just do kind of a smaller portion to give them it kind of in smaller, what am I trying to say? In smaller sessions, so you can still use food as a treat mat. You don't have to be giving them extra calories, which I think is quite important to remember. So I'm literally just going to put that in there, and then I'm going to pop that in the freezer. Because Marty gets quite frustrated with I'm literally that, and then the rest of the stuff I'm going to leave it until afterwards, after I've taken it out of the freezer, just before I give it to him, and I'm going to pop the other bits around the outside so he's got something to get into instantly. That is that map. Kind of shows just how easy you can kind of start to build up an enrichment collection for the week. So then going in with the Rilo, which is our product that we designed ourselves. That's got the air tube in the centre, so that's a new design which kind of keeps that airflow in place. So you fill around that. Top tip, if your dog has quite big portions, this is actually the perfect size to fit a like metal straw in. So you can put the straw in, which gives you more space to fill around, and then pull the straw out before freezing it. It really pile it up quite a bit higher without the food going into the snorkel.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps as well. And then the same, if you accidentally get any food, straw cleaner cleans it, design it with that size, so that we need to be able to get cleaned.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then with Rilo, what I tend to do, rather than, because this is flexible, I tend to move it out of the way and then fill each section.
That's good. I was going to say, I didn't realise you could do that.
So I'm just moving that out of the way and pushing some of the raw food down into these sections. But you can also just use it for all the same food and just fill the whole toy up, especially if you're in a rush, find it a little bit quicker. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing okay. I'm literally just moving out of the way to make sure that that's done. So if your dog has a small portion, you can literally just fill up to the sections, so you can kind of see the section there.
Yeah.
Fill all the way up. So the fill line to not get into the snorkel is this little ridge here. So in the drawing, you want to be filling to the bottom of this ridge. Otherwise, there's a risk of it going into the snorkel, or pop the straw in just to stop anything from getting into there.
It's handy.
Yeah, so I might leave that one there and pop that in the freezer, because again, I'm trying to be a little bit conservative with Marty's enrichment toys at the moment and not make them too hard. And the next thing I'm going to do, is there anything you girls want to see particularly how to fill it or anything?
Maybe you could do one with one of the stopples so that people could see.
Yes.
Like
how the stopple works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. Let me just wash my hands before I open this cupboard. Okay.
And I know with the Rilo, you can fit about 2 150 grams of raw in it, because that's like half of Meadow's allowance.
Oh, is it? That's handy.
Yeah.
It's really hard, isn't it? Because so many people say to me, what's the weight you can get in a Rilo? And I'm like, well, every single food is a different weight.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Just totally depends on what you feed.
Yeah. Slightly more than a large topple in there.
Yeah.
So the sizing is very similar there. So I'm going to go for something like... This is one of my... We don't actually sell this, but I love it. I find it like...
Yeah.
It's the Gigwee light bulb. I got mine off Amazon, I think. And you literally... Where's my big stopple? Stopples doesn't have... My issue is I get all the seconds. So the whole thing of mine is a second, which is the problem. So this is actually an original prototype of the stopple. It's not actually a stopple. So, you know.
Yeah.
Pop it in the bottom of the toy. And that's then holding it upright. So you're not having to try and hold it upright. And then I'm going to take something like my funnel and pop it up. So with this toy, it has these in it. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
It has little flaps which make it harder to get out. So what I would probably do with this one is fill it halfway up with dry treats and then just do the top in something like your raw, because then it's kind of easier for the dog to get it out.
Yeah.
Just for demonstration, Marty will get it. I won't waste food, obviously. But for demonstration, I pop the funnel in, and then you're literally going to grab some of the raw and just push it with the spatula through the funnel, and that's then going within the enrichment toy. It just takes a little bit of smushing to get it in there, to get it all the way down, and then you kind of, it's working its way in. I put way too much on that spatula. There you go. And you can see there, that's to the top, with that. And then what I would probably actually do is I'd probably go in with something like baby food, which is one of my favourite things to have in my enrichment cupboard. Because, have I got some in here? Possibly, yes. Because the ones that are just plain, so Tesco do an amazing range of them. They are literally just, this is literally broccoli, water, peas and spinach. So it is pure veg, like mashed up. And then I put that just on top as like a high reward food. And it's quite then easy to just put it on. And then I would freeze that, use that as enrichment. And again, if you wanted to, you could put something like carrots or peppers pushed in the top just to make it again. That's that one. And then the wobble bowl. I know a lot of people use the Licky Mat wobble bowl.
Yeah.
We actually do a stand that works really well with it. Have noticed they've got a bit thinner, the new ones. Older ones were a bit thicker than this, but these ones are quite a lot thinner.
Oh, okay.
Especially when you're using running. So I use the wobble stopper every time now, because you literally pop it on and it just makes it so much sturdier. But it also means that it's sturdy then when you're using the scale and that side of things as well.
Yeah.
So this on your scales, it's dishwasher safe as well, so you can literally just not dishwasher safe, freezer safe, so you can literally pop it in your freezer, and that's kind of an easy win. So again, I'm going in with some of the raw food and just matching it into the side, and it's just kind of showing you how how you can use your dog's everyday food really, really quickly and get some enrichment toys out of it, because I think your dog's going to get so much more benefit out of this than just feeding it to them out of a bowl, because enrichment is great for kind of engaging their brain, reducing anxiety, building a bond with your dog. There's so many benefits, isn't there, that enrichment gives, and I think it's really important to remember that and to kind of try and give them enrichment at every moment you can. That's 4 enrichment toys there.
Yeah.
Really easily, and enrichment doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be something that you're kind of rushing around and doing. It can be quite easy to do. So what I'll then do is pop these in my freezer and then kind of give them to Marty either as a treat or as his food. If I was giving them to him as his food, obviously I've used a smaller portion in here. So what I would probably then do is kind of give him a mix of stuff. So give him his food in this, but not fully frozen into the sides. Just that little easier for him. That's what Marty's like. He gets frustrated if it's too hard. He's a bit like, well, yeah. So I'd pop them in the freezer, get them out just as he needs them, and let him play with them, and get the benefit out of having enrichment. So yeah, that's kind of.
I think the benefit of enrichment at the minute, especially with a lot of people having the warm weather and dogs missing walks, it's kind of perfect opportunity to learn what enrichment toy your dog is enjoying and what they like to work with.
Yeah, definitely. Enrichment is going to be it's already huge, but it's such a huge benefit, especially in the hot weather. There's a reason why rescues who are severely underfunded, let's be honest, rescues struggle to feed their dogs at times.
Yeah.
And these are people that are severely underfunded. So why are they investing in enrichment, right, if the benefits aren't there? And that's kind of it kind of shows you just how important enrichment is. So yeah, I think there's so many benefits to be said about enrichment. There's my love of enrichment has turned into a business. Maybe don't go obsessed as I am, but I think there's a lot to be said about the benefits, definitely.
Right, I was going to say, my mum's, she's got 4 dogs. She's got 2 Newfoundlands and 2 Labradors.
Yeah.
Well, I looked after them all at Christmas. So I had my dogs and my mum's dogs over Christmas. And I took a load of enrichment toys. I said, right, so while you're doing that, you can have that. And I tried them with the Rilo as well, because obviously Meadow loves it anyway, Minnie loves it. So I tried my mum's with it, see how them got on with it. Just started off small.
Yeah.
And they loved it. So my mum's like, I might get one. So I was like, but birthdays are coming up, I'll get them one. Birthday treat.
Well, I think with the Rilo as well, it's really hard because obviously me and my husband designed it from scratch. Like it's our baby, it's the product that we made, and we made it out of that real need for enrichment toys that are easy to fill.
Yeah.
That don't leak when you're prepping them, but are still extremely safe. And that's kind of why we redesigned the safety element. And I think, it's really hard sometimes to speak about it. When you've created something and you've made it, I find it quite hard sometimes to promote it, because I feel like people think that I'm saying I love it because I'm saying I made it.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it just, it works so well. I mean, we donated a load to the My Interest Dog Yellow Zones that are at all the festivals this year.
Nice. Yeah.
And every single weekend she's done a show, she sent me video after video of a whole range of breeds loving the Rilo, which is amazing. And like,
amazing.
I tested the breeds, like before we brought the product out. One of the first dogs we tested the Rilo one as well was actually a brachy breed, because I think there's so many toys that they can't use. The mats are great, but there's feeder toys that they can't use. So a lady who lived a couple of doors down has, who I'm really close friends with, she has 2 Frug, and her first Frug, who was a rescue, basically used the Rilo for the first time. They were one of the first product testers for Rilo. Oh. And she was like, this is the first time he's ever used an enrichment toy and finished it. And I was like, wow.
Oh, goodness.
Picked it clean. And I was like, that's amazing. But then we go from Frogs, like Pugs and Frenchies, to like huge dogs. There was a lady the other day who messaged me and was like, my 70 kg rescue, love like 70 kg. Like, how?
Yeah.
It's more of a dog or a horse than a bear. But yeah, so I think there's something for everyone in Rilo, and it's I think as well, like, the amazing thing is you don't need the tools. Like, we make the ball and the funnel, but you don't need that for the Rilo.
Yeah,
the funnel is built in, which in turn obviously saves you money, because how many times have you lost a stop all? Let's all be honest. I've just had to use a prototype.
Whereas I used to have loads, and I don't know where half of mine have gone.
Yeah. I swear there's like a fairy, like a sock fairy.
Yeah.
Which is why I always build every single stop ball we've released has got a storage function with it.
Yeah.
It still goes missing. So yeah, so the Rilo is like definitely my easy go-to toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even took it away when we went to Scotland in the caravan. I even took the Rilo with us there.
Yeah, I think it's a great one for traveling, isn't it? Because you can use it with, like I said, with a simple cover as well. But it's really easy to clean. I feel like you don't need a lot of the extras that you like. You don't need high water pressure to clean the Rilo. Yeah. Like the dishwasher to clean the Rilo, because it's really easy to clean, because the sections. That's one of the things that we did, without going boring with manufacturing. But one of the things that a lot of the toys don't actually do is, in things like the sections, we made sure to fillet the bottom, which basically means that the sections don't meet the bottom at a cross angle. They actually angle. Yeah. The food doesn't get stuck in that sharp cross. Yeah. There's little things like that we kind of thought about, and we're like, okay, we need to do that to make it easier to clean. And the same with like the snorkel, which is what I call it. That's not the official name, but being able to get a straw cleaner in it, like that's a great thing, because then you can easily clean it and make sure that there's not bacteria in there as well. So yeah, I actually think my toxic trait is I just get a new Rilo out of the box rather than, because we package them all by hand. So factory, and they are the toy, and then we quality check every single one, which a lot of companies don't check every single Rilo, and hand package them all in the packaging, staple them all ourselves. Me and Sophie sit there and do it ourselves. And yeah, so we just have a box of Rilos, and quite often I'm like, I can't find my Rilo, I'm just going to get a new one. About 15 Rilos around the house. Yeah. It's a problem. It's a problem. Where is it? I mean, I've got up there. Well, one's filled, one up there, and then there's more in his enrichment cupboard. Like, there's just stuff everywhere. Yeah. But yeah. Hopefully it's been helpful though.
Definitely.
It has been, definitely.
And
we even mentioned things that I forget about, so it's even educational for me to like remember things. So like, oh, do that bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why we made the little checklist as well, which can be downloaded on the website and also on our Instagram as well. Yeah, we're not as good. We are on there, but we're not as good on it. But yeah, also guys code of the 15% off. So website and want to see any of our products, then they can use code raw feeding. But also I do just want to say my inbox is always open. We're not a huge corporation, we're not a big company. It's literally myself, who is Melissa. I'm the founder, director, photographer, marketer, everything. I brought Sophie on in March, so it's myself and Sophie. My husband helps out every now and then. I think you guys have probably met Sam more than anyone else in the world, because he's and yeah, so it's literally myself and Sophie. So we love getting inboxes. We love people messaging us and being like, "Oh, what can I get for X dog?" Or
yeah.
So yeah, please do pop us a message, and yeah, I'll be happy to help. And thank you so much, guys, as well for having me. Because
thanks for coming on.
No, it's fine. It's the first time I've ever done a live outside of. We do them quite a lot on our social media, and then do it to a whole new group of people. I was a bit like,
yeah.
I think it went well.
I think it has, yeah. And I'm sure quite often what happens is other people, like people in the group, will go and watch the live back at another time and stuff. So it'll get pinned to the top of the page.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, that's great.
Amazing.
I'll try and take a snippet maybe and share it on our socials as well.
Yeah.
You can come and watch on there, and that sounds great.
Fab. Thanks for coming on again.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.